I had been gaffing the Don Kirshner's rock concert, which was a series that was kind of a late night music series that I think was on, I don't know what network it was on, but they, maybe it was syndicated. But they, at the time, there wasn't a lot of places where music acts could promote themselves on television. The days of the Ed Sullivan Show were over, and unless they went on to Soul Train or something like that, there was no place to really get your music out there on television. So a lot of big acts would do Don Kirshner's rock concert. And Jeff Engel was the lighting designer on it. But we were supposed to do a show, say, next Tuesday. And on Friday, Jeff got a call to go to Hawaii for the week. And Jeff thought, I think I'd rather go to Hawaii for the week. And so he arranged to get a lighting designer to fill in for him. The problem was this lighting designer was like 78 years old. And the director, Lou Horvitz, was quite wild at that time, went completely insane. And he said to the producers, he says, I don't want anyone, put Bob on it. Let Bob be the lighting designer. So Lou calls me up and says, if you mess this up, I'm gonna, you can't mess it up because I've gone out on the line for you. So I said, okay. Well, it just so happens that I'd been to see a Stevie Nicks or a Fleetwood Mac concert the night before. And everyone in the concert was, of course, smoking dope and cigarettes, and the beams of light from the backlight follow spots were just so crisp. And you could just, even though I was at the back of a giant venue, you could see exactly where they all were because there are these beautiful, crisp beams of light that came down. And so when Lou called me, he said, what can you do that's different? I said, well, we could put in a couple of backlight follow spots and put a little smoke in the air, and it'll look more like a concert, And so he said, yeah, let's do that. Well, it was like, it did transform the show. It just suddenly went from being this very predictable sort of safe television environment to being more like a real concert. And these backlight follow spots just made this tremendous difference. So unfortunately, Jeff never did Don Kirshner's rock concert again.
Now, do you remember the act that you were lighting for this?
I think it was AC/DC, believe it or not. I could be wrong, but I should check with Lou. Lou may remember. But we would do, it was just tremendously silly. We would load in and set up like 5 acts in the morning. They would sound check them all, take all the equipment down, and then they'd bring an audience in, and in like 2.5 hours, they would do all these acts in front of a single audience. And each act would do 4 numbers or X number of numbers. And so in the same day, you might do, the stylistics up and with AC/DC waiting in the green room, ready to go on stage. So it was this interesting flow to the show.
Now, were you designing your lighting to showcase that, or was it pretty much the same for all of the acts, or did you actually go out and
well, what we do is, back then we had different arrays of different colored lights, and so we just would use combinations, and they had manual boards, so the guys would, if we wanted the lights to be affecting or doing anything, then they'd be moving the sliders up and down to make the lights go from amber to red to whatever color. And so it was very, very limited what we could do. But and color was our primary tool, and so we heaped it on. But we tried to the attempt was try to reflect the content of the song in the visual, and it was a great place to be experimenting. I as long as I stayed on schedule, no one seemed to care. what it looked like.